Hello everybody and welcome to the YouTube channel of Skip Allen. This video is in response to a question I saw on Painter Factory. The person, Pietro, is asking about a brush that reloads paint every time he makes a stroke. What he's saying is that when painting with real paint, an artist will dab a brush in paint and then apply it to the canvas. The artist would not reload a brush after every brush stroke. He or she would work with paint already on the brush to draw, render, or shade. Painter, however, reloads paint on my brush with every new stroke. And he goes further to talk. There were a couple of questions or answers for him, and he goes back at the very end and says, I sense there's no way to just set a brush so that it exhausts its supply of paint after any given number of brush strokes. Well, you actually can do that a little bit, Pietro, and let me just show you how. First, I want to tell everybody that he's working in Painter X3. What I'm going to be doing is I'm working in X3 also, but what I'm going to show you in X3 works in Painter 2015 or Painter 2016. And actually in Painter 2016, there's lots of new functions that would allow you to do this with other brushes other than the ones I'm going to suggest. Okay, so Pietro, if you go up to your window menu and you come down, you'll see search. If yours is checked, then your search bar is probably up. If it's not checked, go ahead and check it. It will open up a search bar up here in your property bar. I want you to click in there and type Artist Oils. You can do this in 2015 and 2016 and click on Search. Now what you're going to see is every brush that's in Painter X3 that utilizes a dab type called Artist Oils. Now that's important because this is a particular type of brush that will do something similar to what you're talking about. All right, now I'm going to take just this clumpy brush which was popped up here near the top, and we'll see how the clumpy brush works. Okay, so first, if I take it and I just make a stroke, it looks like any other brush. And you're right, every time I pick up the brush and make another stroke, it reloads the brush with that same color. But I could, or watch this, if I don't pick my brush up, it runs out of paint. Now that's one of the things you were asking was, can a brush run out of paint? And yes, it can. Now look, even though it's running out of paint, it's interacting slightly with the paint on the canvas, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, so it can run out of paint. You also said that it usually, or in traditional work, when you start painting, you would pick up some of the paint that's down there. Well, every time you reload, you're not going to pick it up. But if you keep your brush down on the canvas and paint around, it will begin to blend and pick up, blend or pick the color up. So there you go. It's acting together. But again, every time you start fresh, it's going to be the same color. Unless you have this function called Dirty Mode. And if you click on the Dirty Mode brush and activate Dirty Mode, now when you start to paint, still the first time you get the paint, but now when I pick it up and paint, I get whatever I had going when I left off. See, so now when I pick it up, I get that color, pick it up and I get that color, pick it up and I get that. So now we're in dirty mode, and whatever's on the paintbrush is going to stay on the paintbrush until I click over here on my color panel. And when I click on the color panel, that resets the brush to put in color. But once I get over here and get it dirty, I'm back to dirty mode. Okay, so that is dirty mode. Now you can also get rid of dirty mode. Let's say I've gotten all the mixing I want. I can take off dirty mode either here or over here. We'll talk about this in a minute. And now I'm back, and I'm not going to get dirty mode every time I pick up. I'm going to put that in. Okay, so this is a type of brush that comes closer to what you were talking about. And what controls this brush is a panel called Artist Oils panel. And just to go over it kind of quickly, this first slider determines how much paint is going to be loaded on the brush every time you make a stroke. If it's up high, it's going to go for a longer period of time. If it's down low, it will go for a shorter period of time because there's less amount. Viscosity is exactly what it sounds. If you reduce the viscosity, the paint will be wetter, have more turpentine in it, and it will just paint and paint and paint much longer than it would have had the viscosity been very high. So it's been sitting in the tube, and the tube wasn't closed, and it's kind of dry. So it won't paint as far, not dry, it's thick. It's thick paint. And let's reset. The blend is how much it actually blends with the rest of the paint on the canvas. If we increase that, we put some red down, and I grab some blue, see how it blends right away? That's what's going on there. If I like it to blend right away, I would do that. If I want to have less blend, I would do this, and then see I can paint over, and I don't start blending for a while, and then it starts blending. So it just depends on how you want to control the blend. And then we jump into bristling. Bristling is the beginning and ending stroke of the stroke. So when I start, you see that let's make it bigger. See the little edge at the beginning and the end? That's what bristling is. Let's reset. Clumpiness, it's hard to show it, but what clumpiness is, it's the bristles themselves. They're more random when it's clumpier than being very even if you take down the clumpiness. You'll see it mostly in the trail off. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is that this is separated into 3 sections. The top is working with the paint. This is actually the brush itself, okay? And then this has to do with how wet the canvas is. Now, trail off is kind of interesting. It doesn't increase the length of the stroke. For instance, that's the length of that stroke. If I bring the trail off down really low, the length of the stroke is going to be the same, but this light variation that happens here, from thick to thinnest, will be smaller. If I take the trail off and make it all the way long, stroke's not going to change, but see, the trail off really starts way down here. So all that's doing is changing the way that trail off looks, and we'll click here. Now, wetness has a lot to do with how wet the paint is on the canvas, okay? So if I put some paint down, and that's really wet, when I come back in, it's going to stay wet, or it's going to react with other paint longer because it's wetter. Now that, in conjunction with, amount and blend and so forth, can get you painting for a very long time without ever picking your brush up, actually. Okay, so that's it. I hope that helps and kind of explains everything about how the Artist Oils works. Now, there are many brushes. There are many things that you can do if you come into the Well panel. See, we have a dry out here. Now, Artist Oils cannot use the well panel, but many other brushes do. And we have a dry out function here where we can dry the brush out. The bleed is where we blend brushes, and the resaturation was sort of the amount in Artist Oils. So we have a way of doing that with a lot of other brushes. You just got to learn more about how you tweak brushes in Painter X3 2015 or 2016. All right, hope this helped. Bye-bye.